The following program contains names, places, and events that have been anonymized or fictionalized for the purposes of protection and safety. The following program is provided for entertainment purposes only, and any commentary from the hosts are strictly conjecture and should not be held as making any definitive statements about the truth or identity of any particular individuals or circumstances. If you or a loved one are involved in an abusive relationship, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1 800 799 7233 for support.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Monday. You guys, Hannah has to use her sexy voice today.
Yes. I'm like staying with a crew. We've mentioned this. Molly and I are working on the documentary series project as well because we all really love each other and want to work with each other all the time. But yeah, the crew's asleep and I have to let them legally and also because I want to. So I may be super
So Hannah has to be really quiet. And so I'm thinking I have to whisper too. And I'm like, no, I can be loud. I can be normal.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
Yeah, because you emulate people, right? So like when you see someone who's being quiet, you're like, why are we being quiet?
I like to whisper too. Name that movie.
No, what is that?
It's all right. We can let the people write it and name it. If you know it, comment.
I'm not good with movie stuff. I'm not a movie buff though.
That movie, if you guess it, believe it or not, I would put it in my top 3 favorite movies.
Shut up, really?
Yeah.
Oh, now I need to know what it is. Okay, you guys, the Patreon, first of all, I want to say shout out to our Patreoners and everyone who supports us by just listening to the show. Please make sure that you jump on the Patreon. It's $5 a month, and here's why. We have the wildest episodes that we can put on the Patreon that we can't air on like the main feed. So you have to get on the Patreon, and it's a great community of people there. So we really enjoy being there very much. We are just so grateful for you. And also, so many of you keep sharing our podcast on your social media. And a lot of our guests have come on because they said, someone told me I should share my story on the dating detectives. And then they share their story. And then someone else reaches out and says, oh my gosh, that story helped me get out of my abusive relationship or whatever. And so it's just a really cool, like if you put it into perspective, how you're sharing our show like really helps other women. And it's just been so cool to see. So thank you so much. We appreciate that support.
It's kind of mind blowing and we're still pinching ourselves, but it's because of you.
Yeah, 100%. So if there's no other housekeeping in the dating detectives world this Monday morning,
Tell us a story.
I totally will. Okay, so we're going to do a Mackenzie Undercover story today. And I think a lot of people think as a private investigator, like everything is so cool and active and you see all these things. And oftentimes you don't, like it is very boring. And a lot of my work is liability, like fraud and people lying about their injuries when they get injured at work in a car accident or slip and fall, like they fall down in McDonald's and want $7 billion, you know? So that's, yeah, that's a majority of my cases. But sometimes, every once in a while, these cases turn into a doozy.
I'm excited because this is yet another one of the stories where Mackenzie's like, I don't know. Every single time you downplay one of your Mackenzie Undercover stories, it's always amazing. Mackenzie's so normalized. I don't know if that's the way to say
I'm
that, but
numb to like
you're
the
numb
craziness.
to the craziness, and we're always like jaw on the floor. So I'm extra excited when you say, I don't know, it's not as crazy. This one, let's go.
Okay, so let's talk about this guy. Think of this guy who's like in his mid 30s. He's married. He's got 2 kids. They're like preteens, white picket fence. They have a boat. They have an RV, and they have this great life, this really upper middle class neighborhood here in the Tampa area. And that's what you would say, quote unquote, normal family, right?
2.5 kids and a dog kind of vibe.
So super normal. So when I go to work in the morning for a liability case, and these are just like an injury case, and I am unbiased. They say this is the person's name, their address. We just want to know what they're doing. We just want to know, see
Can
if
they
they're
walk?
Yeah, can they?
Even though they said they can't.
Well, a lot of times what happens is they'll go to the doctor and say, "I can't move my head," or "I can't move my neck," or "I can't raise my arm," and they'll be wearing like an arm sling and a neck brace. And then at home, they're just out all willy-nilly doing whatever, right? So that's typically how it goes. Okay. So that's just to kind of paint the picture for you. So I'm doing surveillance on this guy. I leave my house early in the morning. I always get to surveillance first thing. This is the first day on the case. I have no idea what to expect. So I get to his house and normal. It's dark outside. It's really early. The street lights are on still. He's got the 2.5 dogs and the normal, the dad drives a truck, the mom drives a sedan or a minivan or whatever. And then there's their boat and their RV. It's all parked in the yard and nice house, whatever. So, anyways, he's off work due to a work-related injury. Okay, so he got injured at work and he's saying, "I can't work because something hurts or whatever." Okay. So, during his sabbatical, okay, so during his vacation, his time off of work, and I use that lightly, knowing now what I found out in this case, like I'm making fun of it, but
I'm
sometimes
so
it's real.
excited.
So that first day I do surveillance, it's early in the morning. I get him coming out of the house and he is dressed like jeans and a t-shirt. And I'm like, "Oh, we're going to go somewhere." Okay. And oftentimes you sit there for hours with no activity. So to get activity first thing, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is exciting. Cool."
What was the injury? Are you able to share like what he was saying he was injured by?
Usually it's neck and back. For the purpose of anonymity, I won't specify. And also to be unbiased on my case, I usually don't ask. So oftentimes I
Oh,
don't know.
interesting. So you just
So,
know what you're like looking for them not to be able to do, or you're just observing what they can do?
well, to be honest with you, I just observe what they do and report
Okay,
it.
got it.
And that's actually a really good question. Whenever I get hired on a surveillance and they say, "Oh, my neck and back are broken, my shoulder, whatever," I may or may not know the extent of the injury. I may not know anything. Sometimes they'll just say, "Here's a name, here's an address, go." And my job is to be Paul Blart and document their activity. It's not to be biased and look for, are they using that shoulder? Are they using that ankle? It's just to document what they're doing and turn it in. I'm not a
How
doctor. I'm not a medical
interesting.
professional. I am not a claims adjuster. I am not any of those things. So my observation is just an observe and report Paul Blart like situation.
And how do you do that? Do you have like a spy gadget watch where you're like, the subject is now walking with both feet. The subject is now getting in the car and ducking his head and turning his neck left. Like, how would you know all those details in your brain? Or are you just a smarty?
So I just videotape everything. And
Oh,
as
yeah.
long as I can see them, as long as they are in view, I just videotape it. I don't videotape with audio because in Florida it's two-party consent. It's a whole big thing. But I do videotape and everything that I can see, I document. So if he comes out of the house, my surveillance report might read, "The subject exited the house carrying what appeared to be a garbage bag and took it to the garbage, whatever." Okay, so let's get back into it. So, okay.
Yes. That
So
was interesting, though. Thank
I
you.
get him in the morning. No, that's a good question because it paints a picture. So I get him in the morning and I'm like, "Great, this is exciting. He's leaving because this is not going to be a long, boring day. I'm going to, first thing in the morning, get him on video." So he starts loading up the RV. Okay. So he opens the door to the RV, he rinses it off. Like he's preparing to, I'm like, "Oh, he's going to take this RV." And it's the ones that you drive, like the big ass like RVs that you
Oh,
can
yeah.
drive. So he's loading fishing poles and tackle box. He had a camo duffel bag and all of these things. And I'm not a hunter, but I happen to know that when you go hunting, you have the orange vest and everything.
Yes,
So,
totally.
anyways, based on my observations of what he's bringing out to the RV, I'm thinking he's going on a hunting trip, camping. Maybe he's taking the kids, but I'm just videotaping him. Okay. So there's a lot of camping and hunting spots in Florida. So I didn't think anything of it. I was like, "Oh, he's going somewhere in the woods. He's going to go hunting. And depending on what happens when we get there, I may or may not be able to document it."
Yeah, I
But
was gonna say, are you gonna go camping with him? Like,
yeah, I have. Like, if they trek into the woods, but it's also dangerous because if they're hunting and they've got bows and guns, then
oh my
like,
God, yeah. He
I
can't just
won't.
be like lurking.
Yeah, because then you spook someone and you're getting shot. You have to be really careful. But I see what he's doing and I really didn't think anything of it. Okay. So, whenever you're doing surveillance, whenever someone drives away somewhere or leaves somewhere on foot, wherever, a bicycle, a skateboard, whatever, you follow them. It is your job to follow them wherever they're going, document what they're doing, where they're going. So if they go to Walmart, if they go to Walgreens, or if they go to the gas station, like you are just following behind them in your car or whatever. Okay, you guys, you know that I am a private investigator and a lot of the information that I get is online. Sometimes, most of the time, I don't even have to use private investigator resources to find out about one of my subjects. So let's talk about DeleteMe. If you've ever wondered how much of your personal data is out there on the internet for everyone to see all willy-nilly, it's more than you think. It's your name, your contact info, your social security number, your home address, information about your family members. And what happens is it gets compiled by data brokers and it's openly sold online. So anyone on the web can get your private details. And not only is that available to private investigators, but it's also available to anyone. This could be bad guys. This could be someone trying to steal your identity or someone trying to harass you, get your phone number. You get all those unwanted spam calls. Now you can protect your privacy with DeleteMe. Having your personal information on the internet is basically like giving strangers the key to your front door. DeleteMe can keep that door locked and your information safe. And as a person who exists publicly, especially as someone who shares her opinions online, I'm hyper aware of safety and security. And also, hello, private investigator, I'm telling you, you have to listen to me. All this data is out there hanging out on the interwebs all willy-nilly, and it can have actual consequences in the real world. So that's why I personally recommend and use DeleteMe. DeleteMe is a subscription service that removes your personal info from the largest people search databases on the web, and in the process helps prevent all the things we talked about: potential ID theft, harassment, phishing scams, doxing, all that stuff. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for DeleteMe. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your DeleteMe plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/TDD and use promo code TDD at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is go to joindeleteme.com/TDD and enter code TDD at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/TDD, code TDD. Okay, let's talk about Factor. You guys, okay, so during the summertime, it's hot because summer, duh. And so this is a really good time to fuel up for the super hot days with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. I personally love Factor because these are basically like fresh meals that get delivered to you and they're never frozen. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So basically, it's not like the frozen meals you get at the grocery store. They are just refrigerated with fresh ingredients and you pop them in the microwave for literally 2 minutes and they are ready to eat. And we love them. My husband especially loves the keto ones. He is such a carnivore. So he really likes the meat and the protein and the veggies. He loves that stuff. And they really do have a lot of options. Which ones are your favorite right now?
Well, I love that you can really customize it. Like there's so many options. So whatever you're trying to focus on, I'm a breakfast girl and
I love breakfast.
yeah, like
so good.
people who don't eat breakfast, first of all, it's important. Second of all, why? The options are the best. No judgment. I respect you. However,
breakfast is my favorite though. And Factor has good breakfast.
Yeah. So they have all these meals, but they have add-ons. So like I know it's not necessarily summer, but it is to me, strawberry cobbler pancakes. And they were so good.
Oh my God, that sounds so good.
And they came with like chicken sausage and it's all pretty healthy. They also have like egg bites. So if you are going to Starbucks all the time to get those egg bites, don't do that. Get these. You'll save money and time and they're just as good or actually better. And yeah,
I'm adding those in my next order. That sounds so good.
Go through the add-ons for the breakfast. They also, I'm looking right now, I see lemon, buttermilk, pancakes, and blueberry. I don't know how to say that word, but there's like honey, lemon, butter, and chicken sausage patties on those. Yeah, really good breakfast stuff. And I think that's important because breakfast is the meal where you're usually running late. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but like I am. And I like the process of Factor giving you like a really hearty, full balanced meal that's really yummy that takes 2 minutes.
The fact that I can just run down to the kitchen, grab something, pop it in the microwave, and it's healthy. Like I actually feel like I'm, not eating garbage. And they're restaurant quality meals and they feature premium ingredients. You guys, we're talking filet mignon, shrimp, blackened
Mm.
salmon. Hello, it's so good. And I love it. So head to factormeals.com/TDD50 and use code TDD50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code TDD50 at factormeals.com/TDD50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. You won't regret it. You guys will love it. So this guy, he loads up the RV and it took him maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours, just in and out of the house, taking his time. Like I said, he rinsed off the RV and then he was like cleaning the wheel or doing whatever he was doing. Well, without the kids and without the wife, all by his lonesome, he leaves in the RV. So he was coming in and out of the RV and I was like, okay, he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. But then there was a time when you could tell that he had like his wallet, he had his Stanley Cup, he had his sunglasses, and he had his keys. And like you could tell that he was
It
getting
was the
ready
final.
to go.
Yeah, he was ready.
And so I'm confused. I'm like, you can go by yourself.
You
there,
forgot your
fella? Like,
kids.
you forgot everybody,
You
but it's
forgot
fine.
something.
He's a dude. Like dudes go camping and hunting by themselves sometimes, right? So I'm like, all right, this is cool. So
Maybe it's like his man cave.
maybe, but my job is to follow him and see where he goes. So I follow him for 5 hours
Oh.
to the Florida-Georgia line. And then further. So my PI license is valid in Florida. So every state regulates their own private investigator licenses, okay? So state of Florida regulates ours. And then if you do work in other states, if you travel from Florida into Georgia, they offer reciprocity. So they'll honor your license for a certain period of time. So
great.
if you do cross into Georgia like we did, then they offer that reciprocity. So at this time, we're getting close to the Georgia-Florida line, and I call my client and I say, hey, I just want to let you know we're creeping up into Georgia. So what that means for my client is more time. You're paying me more mileage. This is going to cost you a little bit more because time, mileage, effort, whatever. And if he's traveling to another state, he's likely not traveling back the same day. So now they have no say-so in what day I do surveillance because I'm already going to be there. So I give my client the opportunity to decide if they want me to break off. And that means we don't want you to continue surveillance. This is going to cost too much money. But most of the time, they're like, yeah, stay on him. We want to know what he's doing. And because the case initiated in Florida, I'm licensed here, so it's okay. And I happen to know the rules of the states there because I've had to travel out of the state a couple of times to follow someone. So the client was like, listen, stay on him. Like, we want to know what he's doing. Now, you got to remember that these insurance companies pay out billions of dollars a year in only fraud that they could prove, not to mention cases that they can't prove are fraud and legitimate cases. That's just fraud. Okay. So that's kind of crazy if you put it into perspective. So of course they're like, yeah, if it can save, we'll pay you a couple thousand if it'll save us several million, whatever. So anyways, we're traveling and this guy took himself all the way from Central Florida, West Coast, all the way up to South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And remember, he's alone. So every time he stops for gas, like I'm stopping too, because I need gas too. So he drives all the way into South Carolina. Now, mind you, now it's 5:00 at night. He's been traveling for a while. And RVs, you can't drive them things very fast. So like we're going slow. And what's difficult about that is when you follow someone in a car, they can see behind you and you can't always just stay the car behind. Like you got to be
a little sneaky.
Yeah, you got to be strategic about it.
I wanted to ask you, like, we already know you're got to be a great driver to do this because you're tailing people, but it's a funny combination of keeping up with someone and also keeping hidden. Like, it's not a car chase. It's a
it's hard too, especially when you're driving through town and it was early in the morning. And so you're the only cars on the road until like people start waking up and going to work and it starts to get later in the day. And so it's hard when you're on a highway with a bunch of red lights or in a small area because I was lucky that he was in an RV because I was going to stay kind of far back.
RV is a little easier.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's on the interstate. It was pretty easy because you can see him. I could see if he got off the exit. So I could stay pretty far back. So it made it pretty easy. So he takes himself all the way from Central Florida to South Carolina. Okay. Think Tampa, Central Florida, all the way up to South Carolina. To get from Tampa to the Florida,
Georgia line. Isn't that like a group?
Yeah,
they are a band.
but they're not. I think they broke up. Anyways, so I just learned that
drama.
I don't listen to country. So anyways, it's about a 4 to 5 hour drive. It was longer because he was in the RV to Georgia, but it's about a total 8 to 9 hour drive to
For
South
our international
Carolina.
listeners, this is a road trip.
Yeah, don't ask me kilometers. I don't know. I barely know miles. It's fine. Just tell me, do I turn right or left at the Walmart? Okay. So he's alone. And I thought maybe he's meeting a buddy. Where is he going in South Carolina? Now, mind you, when I did my pre-investigation, and when I say pre-investigation, it means just the research that I do on someone before I do surveillance on them. He doesn't own any property in South Carolina. He has no connections in South Carolina. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I need to look some more and just find out more, just because I'm curious. And I always want to paint a picture for the client, find out why he's there. And so this helps to get all that information. So if we ever have to do a surveillance again, it'll help us to reestablish a surveillance at another time. Anyway, it's just due diligence.
Yeah.
So he pulls this big ass RV into this little bitty camping community, parks the RV, and he checks in with the little guard, and there's a little gate. So I go in after he had gotten in and got set up, and I go in and make my way to the front desk. And I'm talking to them at the front desk, and I just let them know. I said, hey, I'm looking for a stolen car in here. And I think it's in here. And I just kind of flipped my hair and was like, hey, I'm looking for this stolen car. And these people just have no respect for one another. They're just stealing from everybody, all willy-nilly. And it makes me sad. Anyways, I'm looking for this car. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay. There's a parking lot right here. You can just sit and watch. And I was like, all right. I couldn't see him from the parking lot in front of the front.
And now you're looking
place.
At a sea of RVs.
Yes. Now I have to find his, right? I gave him time to get in and get set up, and because I didn't want to be right on his butt. So then I talked to the front office and I said, I'm just going to keep an eye out, and also it'll benefit you because if there's any craziness or criminal activity, don't worry, I've got him. And they were like, oh, this is great. Whatever. They thought it was so cool to be
this
part
was
of
probably the most exciting part of their
case.
day. Yeah.
Yeah. They were like, oh, PI, it's so cool. And you have to play on your audience. If it was an older woman, I probably would not have flirted with her. I probably would have just talked about my kids or whatever. I would have found a picture of her grandkids or something and talked about family or something. But you have to relate to who you're talking to. And these are like two young guys who are like, hey, just fucking circle jerking in the office. Like,
and you're like, I need your help with my investigation. You two look like very capable men.
Right?
Yeah.
So by the time I get in, the sun's starting to go down, but not really. So I have a pretty good view. And I told them, I said, I'm just going to circle around and I want to keep an eye out for this car. They're like, all right. So now I've established myself there and they know why I'm there. And if anybody has any questions, they could be like, oh, we know she's here. So now I've established myself. I don't have to worry about anyone bothering me. So he pulls in the RV spaces. I'm sure a lot of you have RVs or you've seen them, like, you know what the parking, there's big, giant diagonal parking spaces. And so when there's not an RV parked in one, it's like a concrete slab. And so I found his RV and I found a concrete slab on the next road over that I could see straight through two RVs to his RV. And through that view, I'm getting video of him doing all the things that he says he can't do. And
is he like setting up tables?
Yeah. Yes. So he's getting things out of the RV. He's setting up the little awning thing and his little fancy chair. He sets up a nice little table, like a little living room. You know how they do it with the RVs, and then they have the carpet and it's this really cute little home away from home, right? Anyways. So he's setting all of this up and doing, I don't know, whatever else you do with RVs. But he's clearly lying about his injuries. So bingo, bango, got him, right? But let's be real, that's not why we're here.
There's got to be a little more if it's the dating detectives.
Yeah.
Quick break from the story because I'm going to brag a little bit to Mackenzie. And it does have to do with our sponsor, Zocdoc. So I just went to the dentist last week. And the dentist we all say it, no matter the age, it's a little bit of a scary place. Even if you're like not afraid of the actual dentist, I'm always just scared that they're going to be like, we need to pull out all your teeth. Like, they're terrible. You're doing a terrible job. And then I'm like, it's going to be so expensive, all these things. So I found my dentist on Zocdoc maybe like 4 years ago.
Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and much more.
You can put in your insurance and it shows you exactly who's in your area, based on your schedule. You can put in your availability if they're in your network, and then you choose the right one for your needs. It's kind of like Yelp for doctors, but also like a dating app for doctors. And then you can,
Dude, I love the idea. I love that you called it a dating app for
It
doctors.
kind
Like,
of
that's so
is.
smart.
I mean, anything's a dating app if you try hard enough, let's be honest. But
And you said you've used it for a long time, right?
Yeah, I've been using it since I moved to LA. My primary care physician I found on Zocdoc, my gynecologist, my dentist.
How many years ago was that?
Don't ask me that. I don't like to talk about it.
Okay.
I always tell people 5 years, and then I just did the math, and it's 7 years I've been in LA. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my gosh. So you've been using them a long time.
Yes.
That's so cool. I didn't know they've been around that long. I had just heard of them.
I also found some mental health professionals on Zocdoc as well. And you can
really? Those are hard to find on regular networks.
Yeah. And you can click to instantly book an appointment in the app, so you never have to leave.
You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, who are located nearby, who are a good fit for any medical needs you may have, and who are highly rated by verified patients. You can also see their actual appointment openings and choose a time that works for you and click to instantly book a visit. Plus, Zocdoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score some same-day appointments. I'm
such a fan. And like I said, I've used it for so many doctors, and you should too. I think it's great. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/TDD to find and instantly book a top rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/TDD, Zocdoc.com/TDD. And all of that is going to be in the show notes. Okay, you guys know I'm a romantic, so I'm calling all the other romance lovers, especially if you're someone who's read, Beach Read, 50 Shades of Grey, the classic. We're talking about Dipsy. I want to give a shout out. I'm not going to say who because, didn't get permission, but somebody on our Patreon wrote in the group and was like, so has anybody else tried Dipsy? Because let's just say I'm a fan. And then they use the little emoji where they're like peeking through their fingers, like, and I was like, oh.
I saw that and I was like, good for you, girl. I love it.
For real. It's like really the way they say the girls that get it. Like if you're into Dipsy, it really changes the game for you. So let me tell you what it is. It's a very spicy, female-founded app for spicy audiobooks and more. So it is created by women for women primarily, which I think is really important in the like erotica space, because so much of it, as we know, is pretty unrealistic and not made with women's preferences and tastes in mind. I also love that they have stuff for all genders, all sexual orientations. They've got, 2 people, 3 people, maybe more. Whatever you're into, they've got it. Yes. And they have over 1,000 spicy audiobooks, all crafted by a team of professional writers and top tier narrators. I was hesitant when I first heard about Dipsy years ago, before we did this ad, which made me so happy to when they started sponsoring us, because I think they're doing really great things for sexual wellness. But I was like, there's no way that I'm going to like this, because it's going to be corny and the actors are going to be awkward and it's going to sound like me trying to be sexy, and it doesn't. They're really good. I'm shocked and impressed that they make it so normal, and also they give you empowerment and also ideas. If you're uncomfortable with sexting or maybe with dirty talk, no pressure, but I get ideas from Dipsy. I'm not even going to lie. It makes me feel excited to go into my own dating life and be like, oh my gosh, I heard this awesome, sexy thing on Dipsy. I'm going to try it now too. And
especially if it's something that would make your partner excited or whatever. It's kind of fun.
Oh my God, it's so fun. And we're all about that. We really think that communication and wellness and sexual health is all part of empowerment and health. And for listeners of the show, there's also British accents. They have different accents. You can get whatever accent you're into, just so you know. I'm not saying I've like gone specifically to all the British accents, but like I'm not saying it. So for listeners of the show, Dipsy is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipsystories.com/TDD. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to DIPSEA stories.com/TDD, dipsystories.com/TDD. And it's all in the show notes.
I can see him, and he's got 2 empty spots on either side of his RV where he is pulled in. And I'm still not sure. Do you register a certain spot or do you just pull into one? But anyways, so I can see that he's setting up his RV, and I'm like, maybe this dude is literally just by himself. Like he's going to go fishing at the lake nearby, whatever.
Maybe he just needed a little me time.
Maybe. You never know what goes on behind closed doors. Him and his family have this picture perfect life on paper, but you never know. Like people could be fighting. You just never know what's going on. So I never assume, and I don't think anything of it. So about a minute after I pull up and I can see he's got all situated, there's an RV that pulls up in the spot next to him. Okay. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't think anything of it. Like, oh, he doesn't know them. Like I didn't assume that or whatever. And a woman comes out of the RV and
Dun, dun, dun.
she's older. She's an older woman. So don't worry. Right. And I didn't think anything of it.
Hey,
I'm like,
never know.
well, he says hi to her. He greets her. He says hi. And then he gives her a hug. And so I'm like, oh, he's meeting his parents. And I'm like, how sweet is this? Like he's going on vacation with his mama, right? That's really nice. And then they kissed.
Yep.
With tongue. Now, mind you,
boy.
this guy's in his mid-30s. Okay.
Yeah, give me the gap.
Oh, God. Y'all. She's like 70 or more.
You know, well, first of all, he's married, so we know. So that's already, we don't like. No.
I'm not judging at all.
We're not judging the age gap.
I was blown away because I was surprised. Like you think one thing and then something totally different happens. You think early to mid-30s. Okay.
I mean, good for her in some ways.
I thought she was elderly, like older. For sure, I was like, that's his mom or something. I ran her vehicle tag, and when you run a tag, you can see how old she is. It shows the date of birth, the registrant, their address, all that stuff.
Yeah, so it's funny because I feel like nowadays, maybe I'm sure always, but like 70 can go so many different ways. 70 can be the new 60, and then also 70 can be like, oh God.
Yes. No, it's true. There's some people that you can tell are much older and some people that just don't act it. And you're like, oh, that's great. She doesn't look that age at all. I love that for her. But you noticed. Yeah. She was clearly elderly, like clearly to me. And I was like, oh, okay. And this guy's wife is the same age as him, right? So there's nothing weird there. Like he's just same age.
Also, I just now am pointing out the fact that you from 2 cars away knew there was tongue means that it had to be graphic.
It was a lot. Well, I zoomed in.
Even so.
So I have a Panasonic, but it's a little handheld camera and you can zoom in so close and it's not even grainy. Like you can zoom in a lot. I can see this dude's pimples. Like you can see, like it zooms in a lot. These cameras are wicked. They're so good. So they're kissing. He's pulling her close to him, like raunchy pulling her close to him and pulling her against his body and, pushing into her pelvis area with his body while he's kissing her. He's into it. He's excited to see her. So this guy traveled to states away and meets this woman that now he's making out with in the parking lot of this RV, whatever. Okay. And so I look her up and I found out her age, but also I did a little digging on her real quick, just on the Google machine. And listen, turns out she's freaking loaded. Okay. We are talking businesses on top of businesses and money. Like she is money. She is so all kinds of, but like, that's none of my business, right? Like that's not my objective.
That adds to the power I'm talking about. I was very excited for her to just be rocking his world despite her age.
But they kiss. I know you like kissing.
I don't know if this is my kind of kissing, but go off. But I'm sure now I'm like, oh, is he trying to get money from this lady? Is he scamming her? I don't like it. Keep going.
Okay, so when I'm on the Google machine looking her up, I actually found out that she's married herself
No.
with kids and grandkids, like the whole thing.
And
These are
the-
two normal
still alive,
people.
like her husband's still alive.
Yeah, still fully alive,
Mhm.
still alive and kicking, and two normal families.
These naughty children. She's a naughty granny. She's a naughty grandma. No, but I was ready to be pro cougar and root her on. I'm always ready to root for the women, but no, these two are being bad. Dogfish 1 and Dogfish 2.
Okay, not my objective, not my business. I am Paul Blart. I'm here to simply document what he's doing and turn it in.
He got out of the vehicle and appeared to use tongue
Yeah.
while kissing.
I wrote that in my report too to make the picture clear. Because I was like, if I just write that he kisses her, they're going to be like, oh, on the cheek. And I'm going to have to say no. But I did write in my report, I was like, he gets out of the RV and greets an elderly woman. And I put her information in, her tag number.
Observe and report.
Observe and report. And when I say his activities, I mean all visible activities. Okay. And one of those activities included the picnic table between their two RVs.
Okay.
Hannah has her hands over her mouth because she knows where this is going. So listen, have y'all ever been to Belle's, like older women, when they wear the colored pants that are pastel and they're elastic around the waist, and then the t-shirt that's a nice stripe to complement the pants, and then they wear the loafers? Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Like that kind of outfit like your grandma maybe probably wears?
Sure. It sounds pretty Florida to me.
Yes, it's very...
I'm just imagining Fort Lauderdale vibes.
Okay, yes, perfect. Dorothy from Golden Girls.
Imagine. Oh, for sure.
Okay,
sure.
so we got it, right?
We're there. We're all there.
Like,
we're with you.
a little bit of Blanche, but a
Google
little
it
less
if you need
flowy.
to. Dorothy from the Golden Girls is now the character in my head. Thank you.
Like white hair, the full on, all of it. Anyway, so this is what she's wearing. I'm trying to paint the picture as best I can. Like,
I'm loving it. I really am.
And this guy's young. He's wearing Hey Dudes and the totally different styles, right? It doesn't, one of these things is not like the other. Anyways, so he takes her to the picnic table. Okay. He gingerly pulls down her pants, and her giant panties, I am not lying, they weren't even sexy. I swear to you, I'm stating the facts. This is what she was wearing.
Just the facts. They were in front of God and everybody.
He's standing in front of her, so you can't see her. You can't see her body. There's nothing that you can see. He's blocking her. And there's the hitch of one of the other trailers was blocking my view. Praise the Lamb. And so it was just enough where if I ducked down in my seat just enough, it blocked that part of my windshield so I could not see out enough to see that area. And he gingerly then places her on the picnic table as she wraps her arms around his neck. And they presumably have sexual intercourse on the picnic table between the RVs.
What about splinters?
That's what I said. And it's a wooden picnic. Like, it's not even the plastic Rubbermaid one. Like, it is
very
wooden.
Concerned about the splinters.
Like, under trees, and the acorns and the birds come on.
Also, what if people are around? What if there are children?
That's what I said.
Children.
So think about the children. I guess they thought the sun's going down. This is fine. And to be fair, you couldn't really see. My windshield is tinted. So when my car is parked, it just looks like a parked car. And so they're surely not thinking anybody's just sitting in it all willy-nilly, like watching them do the nasty.
Videoing them. It's your job. It's your job.
Okay. So this is where my ethics and my morals, and I question everything about my life. So in a moment of intimacy, even though there is no expectation of privacy when you are outside
in a public car park,
even though this is a private property park or whatever, you're still outside. So in my case, I was just a car parked in there and I could see them. Granted, I did my best to get the view from the waist up, but it zoomed in too far. It
It's
was
like
not
when they
nice.
have characters in TV shows that are pregnant and they strategically hide the belly with links.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So we've got this mid-30s guy, and he's doing the nasty with a 70-year-old woman on the picnic table, which fine. Listen, it's age gap. I don't care. Whatever. If you're into it, you're into it. No judging. I will never yuck someone's
Yes.
yum. I was just shocked that he has a wife at home and kids and a dog, and he left by himself to drive several states away to have sex with a woman who is clearly double his age. And what is the motive? And so that was my question. I was like, okay, why? But it's none of my business. My business is to document what he's doing. And he happened to be doing this, homegirl, right? And so listen, this guy,
We
okay.
have to cut that soundbite out. I need that. I need that.
I have to explain this to you. And listen, I'm so sorry. Trigger warning if you don't like the Kama Sutra. So this guy takes he's standing and he has her on the table, right? So he takes his hand on her shoulder and lays her back, like pushes her back gently.
Sure.
He takes his right foot up onto the picnic table over her leg. Yeah.
Okay. Gumby. Okay. Flexible.
Listen, they are engaging in intercourse in a very rough manner.
Going like a jackhammer. We got it.
Surely
Thank you.
there are splinters in her butt. Like there can't not be, right? Listen.
That poor woman.
And like my question was, you mean to tell me you have two perfectly good RVs right here? We're going to Cougar Town all willy-nilly on a picnic table out here in front of God and everybody. Like everybody can just see you. I mean,
like
good for
they
her.
must be into that.
But okay, good for her. Okay, listen, she's nailing this hot mid-30s dude, and he's loving it. He's loving every bit of them granny panties. I'm talking Hanes, full coverage, white cotton panties. They are legit, straight out of 1950s. Anyways, I'm just trying to
observe and report.
Observe
Thank you so much for the details.
So good for her. He's loving it. He's climbing her like a friggin' tree. Okay.
You better be careful.
Yeah. And so listen, so by this time it's starting to get darker and darker. They wrap up their session. He pulls her off the picnic table and they're putting on their clothes or whatever. And they spend the rest of the evening canoodling on his, I'll call it a front porch where he set up his chairs and whatever. And they are just having the time of their life. They went for a walk and they went down to the lake and they're holding hands. And he helped her unload her RV and get her RV set up. So they're clearly going to be there a while. So at this time, I called my client and I'm like, listen, I know you're not in the office, but I really need help here. And so I'm like, do you want me to stay here and see what he's doing later? Or do you want me to break off? And so he calls me back later and he says, we're going to get a local investigator to come back to the case tomorrow. So they got me a hotel and I just stayed the night nearby and then drove home the next day. But here's the kicker. So I didn't get to finish the case, but I did turn in my surveillance report and all the things, right? So remember how I told you that my guy had a workers' comp case and he said, I cannot work because I have these injuries?
Yes.
They were trying to take it to trial, right? Well, the word got out that we had video documentation of him in South Carolina because they were talking about if they go to trial, they have two different investigators from two different states.
Yes.
And so he realized in that moment, if this goes to court, I'm screwed. So he ended up just settling, saying, I'm not injured. I'll go back to work. And that's it. So that his wife didn't see the video in court ever. And I don't know to this day if she knows, but I did look them up and they are together and happy. And I cannot find any pictures of that other woman. And as far as I know, she is still in South Carolina. I have no proof of any further connection of them. All I know is he went there and he did the thing. And to this day, I do not know if he's still seeing her, but I do know that he's still with his wife and they look happy on social media.
Processing. I don't want to take the power away from her. Maybe she's got him hooked, but it also is interesting that she has a lot of money. I'm wondering if there's any money involved. So, yeah, I want to hear everyone's thoughts because you said very clearly, and we respect that that was not your business, but it is now our business. And that affair is spicy as hell. And I don't like it because I don't like that he's cheating on his wife and that she doesn't know and that he's driving this. But also, I wonder if his family was out of town or something because that is a very obvious packing up the RV, going far away. Like,
No, they
he's
were
not being
there.
secret.
They were
His
there.
family was there.
Yeah, all the cars were there. You could see the kids coming in and out of the garage. Like,
So maybe he did just say, I'm going on a fishing trip. I like need time alone.
yeah, I'm curious about that too. But one reason that I'm so skeptical of sharing these stories and I think nobody will care about them is because I don't have answers and I am not interested in anything where there is not an answer. I want to know, what did he tell the wife? How long did he say he'd be gone for? Why did he have this relationship with this woman? How did he meet her? Where's her husband? Like,
Yeah,
what
and
I
did
want to know
they-
more about.
The next day, I'm wondering, like, did he go hunting and fishing so that he had something when he brought back?
Yeah, like I want to know that too. Or was that just a front? I don't know anything. And so
Does the wife know? And have her own daddy on the side.
right. The old lady is married with kids and grandkids, but I need to know more. I need to know, how did they meet? Why did they connect? Is it a fetish
Hey,
thing? Did he just
yeah.
like
Age is just a number, and I love that for them. I assumed money, but now that I think she has her family together, she's probably not able to do things for him.
Well,
with
that's what I'm
money.
wondering too. Is this something that you've just always wanted to try? Or have you always just been attracted to older women? I'm not judging at all because do you, boo?
MILFs and GILFs are having their moment for sure.
I think that my biggest question is because it's not so common and because you have just a beautiful, normal wife at home or whatever, don't cheat in general. But also my question, I think, and a lot of people's question is probably why an older woman? Is this something? It's just not common. I feel bad asking that. Like, what's wrong with older women? Nothing.
No,
But
we love you guys. And if you're single and the man is single, go off, girl.
Yeah.
We love that for you. But I also am like, it's much more common to see super old men with super young women.
yeah, because
And-
usually they're sugar daddies.
Pretty much.
So I told my story about that too, right?
Yeah, isn't it sad? I have multiple friends we've all gotten to the point where we've been out with our dads at one point. And people are like, are you a couple? And we're like, vomit in my mouth. But it's so much more accepted, which I think it should be fine for everybody if everyone is consenting and not being poopy heads on a picnic table away from their families. But
Yeah.
in this case,
It was just interesting, the totally
golly.
different style. Like,
and I think it's like a 35-year-old husband with family and then
a 70-year-old woman.
grandmother.
It's just
just
uncommon.
don't-
What do they have in common that, anyways,
Good point.
just
good point.
curious, but
Maybe
age,
just sex. Maybe
age
they
gap.
just have great sex.
yeah, an age gap be damned. You love who you love, but also when you're cheating, then it's just like, why?
It also raises
I
the
don't know.
stakes. You got to really want to be with somebody if you're driving to South Carolina away from your family. So
Yeah.
this isn't just a one night thing, obviously.
No, and also when I saw him loading up the RV, when he would go inside, I'm preparing for where he might go. So I'm looking up like hunting areas and I could see where he had gone before and certain areas of Florida where he had traveled along the Swanee River.
Maybe he has grandma in different RV parks. Maybe he's got a spot for. Have you ever seen The Producers?
No.
Do you know? It's a movie and it's also a musical, but it's about slimy Broadway producers. And there's a guy who makes his money by essentially being like a prostitute for old grannies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they
Good
all
for
like
him.
show up in their walkers and they're
Oh
like,
my
we
God.
love him. And then they just give him money and he makes their day. And now I'm imagining like, what if you had an RV business where you just drove around and were a gigolo for
my God.
elderly women?
Could you imagine? That'd be amazing. What was your initial thought when you first heard me talking about how he was traveling to this RV park? What were your first thoughts?
Well, I certainly thought affair. I thought maybe like other family. I didn't assume Dorothy from Golden Girls. I did not expect to be worried about splinters. Let's just say that. But you continue to surprise me with these dogfish and their behavior. So don't you worry. This is a good one.
That is so funny.
I feel like anyone who does RV traveling or camping, next time they go, they're going to look at the campground very differently and they're going to have their head on a swivel. For better or for worse, because you never know what's going on at a camping ground. I'm sure they were not the only ones.
I even looked up the camping ground to see if it was a swingers park or
Yeah.
something like that. And it's not. I feel so self-conscious telling these stories, you guys, because I'm like, no one's going to think this is interesting because that's how numb I am to it. Is I'm like, this is stupid. Like this has happened to everybody. No, this is not interesting.
Well, let that be a transition into asking all of you to either leave a review on wherever you listen to your podcast or comment on our social
my
media
God.
at Dating Detectives Podcast and tell Mackenzie that you crave her stories because we do. I love your stories. And also, even if it's something that we don't get the answer to, we get to feel like we're on a ride along.
I wish I could take you on a ride. Next time I do surveillance, I got to know what you think on the podcast.
I want to hear at different points, tell us what you thought was happening. And also, yeah, if you've got an age gap relationship, if you've got an RV, if you have affairs, please don't
We
do
want to
that.
know all of it.
But we want to hear about it. Our email is investigate@thedatingdetectivespodcast.com.
Good for you, y'all. She's not even at home. She's in New York.
And I didn't look at anything. I
And
didn't have
she just
a little
knew
note.
it. I'm so proud of you, Hannah. But thank you guys so much for sharing. We really appreciate you listening to our show, and leave us a nice review and a whole bunch of stars. And it really helps our podcast grow.
Starshine.
And Starshine. Oh my God. Go Starshine. And keep sharing our stuff. It means the world to us. And you never know how you can impact somebody else. So thank you so much for listening. And as always, trust your intuition.
And don't get splinters if you're doing the nasty outside.
Splinters in your
Put
butt.
a tarp down. Dear God.
Put a tarp down.
Bye, everybody.
Put a tarp down.